folks. I am away at Manhattan today, so I want to cover what we're going to go over. This will be a lecture that'll probably be in two parts with an activity. So muddle through, get yourself a pair of headphones, and away we go. So we're talking about Flash, and Flash is an application that requires you to create sequential images on a timeline that are often hand-drawn or moved in and then have what's called tweening applied to them so that movement occurs in a certain manner. And the cartooning that is created that you're looking at is 2D cartooning at different levels. And this is an example of a simple piece of cartooning done by Lane Patrick, but it's really efficient and visual. And while it looks rather simplistic, it took a lot of work. So I'm going to let you see it. It's the explanation of nuclear fission. And that's pretty much it. So it basically shows the concept of a scientific element. And Lane actually used this in another project, but he created it in Flash to kind of showcase or to visualize what he was trying to explain. That element of creating sequence is what Flash does. Here's some more examples. This is actually an entry from Isaac Peterson that is going to eMagin this year in the 2D animation story base. And everything that you see is frame by frame drawn and animated by Isaac within Flash. And that's it. But that sequence took a lot of time and a lot of effort. As you can see, you're not just animating characters within, you also have background and all that has to be drawn series by series by series. So you're just not creating motion, you're also drawing things that move within a background. And that is why it's more advanced than most Flash. And the last one is by Brett Savage. Brett created this also as an entry to eMagin. Brett has been using Flash now for several years and is probably our best Flash expert right now at Vision Tech. Here we go. So if you notice, Brett's is a little bit more detailed and a longer storyline. He probably spent anywhere from 30 hours a week for about 4.5, 5 weeks. So believe it or not, each one of those scenes has to be drawn and animated in Flash, exported, created into a movie, and then uploaded into Final Cut, which he then added sound effects and more. So there's a lot of work that goes to using Flash as an animation tool. So we're going to move on and talk about Adobe Photoshop. all of my kiddos get experience in Adobe Photoshop. And you can see that in the tech IDs that are running on the monitor here in my room. Each student each year creates a new tech ID, and that ID is a picture of them that is supposed to somehow represent them, and it shows their skill level in Photoshop, and every year these pictures get better. So you have to keep in mind the first year you start off and you're learning about Photoshop, you're going to be a pretty basic user. And I think what you're going to see is, especially with projects, that is exactly how it works. We begin, and as the years develop, the skill set becomes stronger. And that's when we start winning competitions. It's true with that. So moving on, I'm going to show you some examples of Adobe Photoshop. So Photoshop is not just something that you use to create images or to modify images within. It also has the capability of creating brushes and other light sources. And this is an example done by Cordell Bowers, one of my students in the past, who was really a strong Photoshop user. And if you notice, this is actually some cool brushwork with light effects. And here's some more. And again, Cordell actually created our VisionTech, this screen, kind of like a screensaver paper, wallpaper for us. He uses the logo brushes, creates it in a 3D image, and puts a cracked glass background. This is a use of digital photography within Photoshop. This is Jessica Van Rankin when she was a freshman. She's actually creating some cartoon-like imagery and paint effects on using a bitmap raster image, which is a photo. And this is again Jessica using some typography and Jessica's work with painting within it, making it look cartoon-like. This is actually Macy Miller. Macy Miller, this is what's called typography, and it's when you use text that you bend and control to represent or recreate an image. And this is actually one that was done for her cat named Smooch. This is Danny Romy. Danny used a real picture of her violin that she then modified and uses brushes to create the image behind it. And what's cool is she used this as a portfolio image. So all of the things that Danny put in her digital portfolio were photoshopped or controlled by her. This is actually Seth Nelson. He did a image of himself, and if you look, we actually have it in our hall. We had a Think Different campaign posters that we put up, and he made his own. And if you notice, there's the Apple image with the Think Different logo. Oh, I just threw this in there for fun. Yeah, wouldn't it be fun? You can Photoshop just about anything. This is actually by Tyler Wise. It's a work of, again, typography that he did, where he used an image as well as a logo that he took a photo of and created this. This is Monica Rodriguez, who did a piece of digital work in photography, and it moved through there pretty quickly. I wish I would have kept it longer. Here's some more stuff. This is actually Jessica Van Rankin. She won the digital manipulation contest at Imagine with this picture. It's actually a picture of Mimi Schultz that she has broken and fragmented a true leaf with. This is Cordell Bowers. He did a self-portrait, a picture of himself in a hoodie where his face becomes kind of invisible. This is a picture of Kenny Campbell that was done by Molly Ray. This is a picture of Andy done by Magnus Peterson that he did and manipulated in some photo shoots. Here's a piece of typography work that is done by Danny Romy. Again, she used this for her portfolio. She was going to study to be a physician's assistant, and so she created this for her portfolio when she talks about her medical work. She won honorable mention at Imagine with this. This is Jessica Van Rankin, also using typography. This is Mitch Supas. He actually won honorable mention in manipulated digital photography. He went out and took a picture of a field. He wraps it, and so it makes it look like it's the walls of a room. He takes pictures, and this was back in the back when we still had just the cement floor and nothing else. And he took pictures of himself on a ladder, other things, and he puts them in the picture. This is done by Michael Montgomery. It's kind of a protest about the NSA and net neutrality, trying to control how the network works. This is done by Claire Dink. She won honorable mention at Imagine for this. It's just a photoshopped look, creating a period piece with black and white and then color pop. This is Carrie Albers. She wanted to do something really artsy and strange and kind of out there. And she actually took a picture of herself, broke it down. So the only thing that's left of her picture are fragments of her face and her arms. And the rest she creates using brushes. So that's some of the blast of the past. Let's look at some of the projects from more recent. This is Cody Hopkins. He uses Photoshop to draw and animate this. And he's used a picture of his arm. That's basically a picture of him. They turned sideways and then worked on. This is Paige Romy. If you notice, there's a picture of Angel on one side, and I think that's maybe Paige on the other. I'm not sure who that is on the other side. And then a use of brushes in the middle, kind of like creating an artistic work. This is done by Amy Mullen. She actually took a picture of the church, the Bethany Church downtown, and then created this stained glass effect with light. This is Sophia Peterson. She used Photoshop to express kind of, this is her entry, but it was also kind of her tech ID of how what you write or create can become visual. This is Alana Lustfield, and she took a picture of her eye, which is really hard to do. And then she used Photoshop to create the illusion of color and eyelashes. She drew each one of those individually, as well as the eyebrow and the part of the nose. This is Seth Peterson. And Seth used, he wanted to create a message. And if you notice, he uses typography to do that and a shatter effect of how words can really hurt people. Oh, by the way, he won honorable mention last year for this. He made the top 5. This is Jake Grosland. He called this a day in gaming life, where basically he's sitting in a classroom and he's visualizing all the gaming activity around him. And if you notice, there's lots of games that are worked into this image. This is actually a piece created by Lane Patrick, an entry last year for Imagine, where he used his guitar being on fire. So we're going to stop part 1, and we will resume with part 2 directly after. Bye-bye.